Was
Okay then. And the stream is live. Hello one and all, and welcome to PHP Dublin and our first virtual meetup. As you all know, there has been, or there is, we're currently in the middle of a minor global pandemic. So we have decided to experiment with online meetups, and this is our inaugural one. And the topic today is to discuss remote working. We have a panel of attendees to discuss the topics. And I'm just wondering, could the person who's listening to it on YouTube just mute it there? Thank you. Oh, good to know it is actually working. So, and just to say to everyone, this is our first attempt at this, so there will be these minor/major hiccups, so please bear with us. I'd like to say thank you to everyone for, first of all, agreeing to be on the panel, and also like to thank everyone who's currently watching this online. Thank you so much for partaking in our experiment. We're hoping to do more of these meetups in future. And if you'd like to give a talk in the meetup or to join in one of these panel discussions, feel free to contact myself or anyone else that's involved in this panel on Twitter or on Gmail or et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. We'll have links on the meetup page. And yeah, I think without further ado, let's kick things off. I'm going to hand it over to the facilitator, Zhao.
Hello there, I'm João. I'll be here facilitating a bit of communication today and the discussion. I'll be handing back to Barry so he can introduce himself.
Okay, hello there. I am Barry O'Sullivan. I am a software developer and contractor. I work on web applications, primarily with PHP and mostly in legacy PHP web applications. In regards to this discussion, I have been working remote full-time for 5 years now, and I'm hoping to discuss the pros and cons as I've seen it, what works, what doesn't, and then also to hear insights from other people in different roles. So really looking forward to this.
Thank you for joining us today, Barry. We hope we can get a lot of insights from you as a contractor. I'll ask now Alex to introduce herself.
Hi, I'm Alex. I'm QA engineer working with PHP team here in Dublin. I'm working on site in the office usually with the team, so it's a challenge for me now to work from home. The biggest struggle, I would say, is to deliver negative feedback, and that's where my struggles are. I hope to discuss it today and share my experience.
Yeah. Thank you for joining us, Alex, today. It would be great to be hearing from you as a QA, the perspective of chasing the developers to give them the bad news. And Diana, I would ask you to introduce yourself.
Sure. Hello, everyone. I work as software engineer for Blackfire.io, and right now I'm speaking from Brazil, so I'm like a few hours behind. It's still 2 p.m. here. And I've been working, it's really hard for me to speak the word. I've been working exclusively, yes, from home for the past 6 to 7 months. And I already worked remotely a few years back for 1.5 years. And it's good to be here. And it's good to share a little bit of my sunshines with you guys.
Yeah, hopefully we'll have more of those sunny days when the quarantine is over. Thank you, Diana. It will be interesting to hear your perspective on all the work from Blackfire as it has a team spread across the globe. Thank you for joining us. And Bruno, I'd like to give you some space to introduce yourself.
Cool. So, hello guys. My name is Bruno. I'm from Brazil originally. I'm here in Ireland since 4 years ago. As a software engineer for a long time, and recently, a couple of years ago, I moved into management. So the insights that I will try to give for this discussion basically is I will try to talk a little bit about the challenges of leading and managing the software developers, PHP developers, and front-end developers remotely. So basically trying to give insights about remote teams and what are the challenges for leading people.
Good, yeah, it would be great to get the side from the management part of it, and how everything is going with uh, this enforced work from home. I'd like to start with you a bit and let us know what are the pros and cons you see on the management side for this opportunity, or what led to this opportunity.
Yeah, so managing it's as every role in a team, and they have some specific challenges, right? So I would say that what changes a bit when you are managing a team remotely rather than on site and close to them is their managers. They are usually concerned about having the team performing, right? So this changed a bit when you were working remotely, because you were not able to well, they're not there, you don't see the team, right? But then it's important that that if you build your team in a good way, if you do trust your team members, you should be able to overcome this kind of challenges about making sure that people are performing, right? So that would be a first challenge that I would propose. That is basically how as a manager or even as a colleague, how can you make sure that everyone is performing and analyze performance and understand if basically everyone is doing their work, right? And I would say that other than having trust on the team members, I would say that it's very important to use and rely on processes and on tooling as well. So I suppose that everyone, if you were used where you have stand-ups, you do have some rituals that you need to follow, and you have this content connection and contact with your team, you can use those processes, those rituals to make sure that you are properly reporting when you were working, and also properly trying to understand if the work is flowing, if the team is performing. That will be a first challenge that I would like to propose.
Sorry, can I add to it?
Sure.
I like from the team perspective, I think it's like I feel it's important for the manager, like for the team to feel supported by the manager, but also not to feel micromanaged and controlled. And this is like, I don't know, I believe it's a big challenge for the managers.
That's for sure. I was talking with Barry and Joan recently about this. I read this book, Remote Office Not Required by DHH, the guy that created Ruby on Rails. So basically there, he provides a couple of examples that are really, really useful for managers and for everyone. Like, so basically the trust bit, it's very important, even in a team that is not remote, right? But then to build this trust, it's quite complex. You need to build a good team. It starts from the very beginning about how the team was built and what is the company culture. So this kind of trust needs to be established in any team. And as long as you trust, as long as you everyone is well, it's properly a team member and is working with the team. There is no need to micromanage either in a remote or in an office on-site work environment, I would say.
How is that handled on your side, Diana, mostly? Is as it goes spread multiple time zones and everything, how that micromanagement or the trying to avoid that goes for you?
Yeah, it's kind of complicated at first sight because we already have that situation where you just can go to your colleague's desk and show that you're there, show that you're working. And how do you, as a software engineer, my concern is on the inverse point. How do I prove to my manager that I am really working? So how do I expose my results? And I have to do that sometimes from in a difference for 4 hours, 5 hours, and I guess sometimes even 6 hours, depending on the time zone. So what I try to do, and what everyone at where I work tries to do, is we try to be to have like 4 hours together, everyone. So we try to adapt our working hours to spend at least 4 hours with everyone in the team, so we can communicate often and get the answers that we need. And other than that, what we try really hard to do is like keep a communication. I guess the most difficult part is to learn how to be really async, because we are so used to synchronous communication that how do you talk to someone and you know that person is not going to answer you now? How do you manage your work and your tasks to run towards that? So we usually try to use Slack a lot. We message a lot, and we can't be anxious like I need to send this message because I need an answer now. If it's really urgent, you always can like voice call someone, but let's avoid that. Please don't do that to your colleagues. And so I leave a message. I expect to have an answer the next day or the next hours. If I can't move and I'm blocked because of that, I will start working on another task. And we try to communicate a lot through GitHub issues and pull requests. So we do a pull request as soon as we have some piece of code, even if it's not ready. So we are always displaying our work in progress. And this is a way for everyone to see what everyone is doing, how the logic's going on, and I can look at a work someone is doing or was doing yesterday and it's not finished, and take a look and say, oh, maybe it's better you do that way, or I don't understand what you're doing. So it's a constant learning on how to be really async. So I guess that's the biggest problem that me personally face.
Yeah, most people, I find people are very, if they're used to reactive communication, which is somebody says something to them and there's a constant back and forth like a normal conversation, the switch to asynchronous communication can be very jarring, and people don't realize that it requires a different cadence and a different style of communication.
Yeah, I agree. And quickly on that, I think that one thing that becomes really, really important to support async communication, because think about it, why async communication is challenging, because sometimes we need the answer, we don't have the answer, and we get ourselves blocked because we don't have the answer, right? So on that, I'm an evangelist in all my teams about, first thing, the documentation is always important, and on remote scenarios it's even more. And I suppose that everything needs to be online. So rather than popping to someone's desk and say, look, I'm working on that feature, the ticket is not well described. Can you explain to me what I need really to do on this ticket? So you need to avoid that. You need to have well-written user stories. You need to have a lot of documentation to support this async communication. And
Getting a bit on what Jenna was saying about how to show that you're working, I think that documenting well what needs to be done helps a lot. But Barry, on your perspective, as a contractor, where showing that you're working and billing
Yes.
on top of that is way different from what many full-time employees need to do, even when working from home. So, what are your tips and thoughts on that?
Well, the first thing I would say is proactive communication. If somebody is getting in contact with you to ask how something is going, or how you're doing, or anything like that, you probably aren't communicating enough. So the idea is that if you have a remote client, realistically, what a remote client wants is they want to feel like they have a sense of control. They want to feel like the work is in safe hands. So what you have to do is give them that feeling, like figure out how do you communicate with them so that they feel like you're on top of it, that you're working, and that if you have any blockers or any problems, you will get in contact immediately. So I find that proactive communication is important there. And also, if you're asking a question or anything like that, actually aim for long form. Try to pack in as many things as you can. Try to give details on this is where I'm thinking, this is what I need to do, this is what I plan to do next. These are the decision points that I would need made. These are the points that are open for potential discussion. And here are my suggestions for how we could move forward. But I'm open to suggestions from yourself. So you make it as easy for them to respond to you and answer your questions to unblock you. So you're trying to make it so that the experience from the client's perspective is as smooth and as carefree as possible.
But your idea, sorry.
Oh, no, no worries. Well, the final thing I was going to say was that, and if you are working asynchronously or you're in the middle of something else and you don't feel like you can address a question, just send a message back saying that I'll get back to you in a second. I'm just in the middle of something. People just want to know that you will respond, even if you're not directly answering their question right now. Sorry, Alex, you were saying?
Yeah, I was saying, but your idea is to put everything on the ticket. Say,
well,
like, yeah.
Well, that's something, it depends. Well, that one's a tricky one because it depends on how the company is used to working. If the company is used to, like, say, using a system like Jira or Target Process or GitHub Issues, and that's how they like to keep track of things, then I use those, I tend to use those as a scratch pad for my progress, what I'm thinking, the key decision points I've made, so that anyone else in the company can go and have a look and see how I'm doing without having to contact me directly. Or somebody else can look at it and then pick it up if I happen to be moved on to something else. So it's kind of like you're leaving a trail of artifacts of your thoughts and decisions so that anybody else is able to take over, hopefully. It's the same with, as Diana was saying about the GitHub PRs, you're showing your work in progress. And how you show your work in progress depends on what your clients, the team you're working with, how they expect to see progress updates, what tooling they like to be contacted through.
I think a lot goes on expectations. Alex, you were about to say something? Sorry.
Yeah, I was I wanted to continue the topic about messaging and calling. I would disagree with Diana that calling is horrible, because I think it's really useful to have the connection with people, because when you Slack somebody or whatever messenger you are using, when you send a message, it's always like a cold response. Maybe it's like stupid advice to use smiles, but emojis. Maybe that might help, but like seeing the face of the person is really important, at least to me.
Well, I just to clarify, Diana, I interpreted that as a cold call out of the blue.
Yeah, I was more talking like a cold call, really, like from the perspective, like I am in Brazil, and if I am working at 4 p.m. here, people in Paris will be like at, I guess they're 11 p.m. So, and I have a problem or what I'm doing is in trouble somehow, I would like get my phone and call them.
Oh, really?
So,
okay, people do it.
So that's not good. Not good. Not where I work.
It's a necessary evil.
Yeah.
And on that, yeah, go ahead. Okay, I will go then. So on that, I suppose that links a lot with the conversation that we are just having. Like another challenge for me is avoiding the team to burn out, because if you build a, let's flip the coin and see in a totally different perspective. Instead of having trouble with guaranteeing that people are working from home, and then they are so close to their computers, and they are able to at any point be available. It's another concern, I would say, not only for management, but for everyone in the team that is like avoiding people to burn out. So maybe you are in different time zones, and then someone is sending you a message just to tell you, look, and then you might be already checking this thing, you know. So yeah, but burnout is another concern, and the internet connection is another concern. Mine is very.
Yeah, your connection is not great at the moment. But I want to piggyback on what Bruno was a bit introducing about burnout and the problems of overworking sometimes, and try to get a bit of the pros and cons we've been seeing lately. I think we have several different perspectives here, but Barry more used to the work remotely, uh, while everyone else is kind of new, and that I want to see the different perspectives.
Well, yeah. So one of the problems with working remotely, especially if you're working from your own house, is how do you switch off after work? Because sometimes it can be difficult. Like the thing about going to a physical office is that it means when you go home, you are home. It's like, you know, it's ritual. Your mind gets into a different way of thinking. And when you're working remotely, that can be quite difficult. So what I find important there is, first of all, try to set strict hours that you actually work. Try to choose a place in your house that you will work from. Don't work from the sofa. Or worst case scenario, your bed. Sure, it sounds fun and it sounds like a nice idea, but the problem is that it means if you're doing that, it means you won't be able to switch off. Like for instance, I'm currently in my office in my house. Before this, I used to work remotely and just find an area in the house. And then when I moved to a new place, I explicitly took out a room as an office just so that when I leave this room, I'm no longer working. So it means that it's much easier for me to take sort of a mental break from it, because I'm the kind of person that once an idea gets in my head, it doesn't leave. So I need to kind of put that distance. Another thing that's good for getting out of burnout, I find, is first of all, it's going to sound stupid to people, but get dressed in the morning, put on work clothes. You know, just have clothes. Just do not start in your dressing gown or pajamas. And then if you want to sort of like feel like you're finishing work, you could either change clothes, or you could go for a walk or exercise, or just go do something or meditate, just something that sort of gives your brain sort of a mental break, a gap. I find that getting that sort of mental distance is important if you can't get the physical distance from where you work.
But for example, like sometimes it's nice if you have this passion and this, like you are solving a problem and the solution is coming, and okay, it's already you are overtiming, but like it's almost there. Like, do you just stop? Okay, 6 p.m. Ciao.
No. It's not like a tap. I wish it was, but and twofold, because there are some times where I'm working remote and it's just not happening. I mean, I can admit that 5 o'clock, my brain is not working. I'm done, and then I'll stop working then. But the fact is that the next day I might get into the flow, and then I'll make up that time then. The idea is it's about, you know, it's not about sticking strictly to the clock. Helps sort of to set boundaries, but if you feel like you want to keep working and you're happy to keep working, there's no reason to stop.
Yeah, on that book that I mentioned, there is a part where it's exactly about this, and one of the tips is try to. They say that it's important to try to recap the day every day. When you are close to finish the day, you kind of look at your day and you say, look, I had a pretty good day, so I already worked a lot. If something not so urgent comes, and I will try to avoid, don't to act on it right away, and I'm fine even leaving a couple of hours earlier. So doing this analysis kind of helps, and I think the most important thing, in my opinion, is just make sure that that overall you are not burning out, right? I mean, it's totally fine one day to work a little bit more, one day to be less productive, or even work less, to fresh to have some I don't know, to rest a bit and make sure that you are able to work in the next day.
Yeah, because we're not machines.
Do you have some advice for like when you see your colleagues or like you see them working or like late at night doing something? How do you say them nicely, like stop working?
I think that is important. It's important to reflect on that. I mean, it's important to tell them, look, hey, I know that you were really focused on that, but try to take a break. We do have a couple of other things to do in the next week or in the next month. We need to remember always that it's a marathon. It's not a sprint. You know, that's the kind of the analogy that I try to use.
No, that's good. Yeah, that's definitely it. It's about realizing that, yeah, you're going to be doing this for a while, so don't burn yourself out now.
Yeah, one thing I was getting from Newberry saying, oh, I have the office now since I moved and all that. It's good when you have the planning, since you've been working for the past 5 years from home. But for most of us, it just
it's
happened.
new.
And happened in a time that there's not much preparation, and it's not even easy to just go and move out to some new place. I think here the one that is recently moved into working from home and had a bit of time to prepare is kind of a Diana, but I see Bruno and Alex being heated by COVID and say, go home and make the best of it.
Yeah, I have some kind of advice for the people who had to deal with it, because today I do have a room that's like my office. So I have a table and I can get in and close the door, and I do all the stuff Barry already said it's good for people to do, because I do have problems sometimes to like turn off my brain and learn that I'm not working. So for a while I didn't have a room either, and like it's not good to work from the sofa. So uh, try to create a context where your brain knows now you need to work. So changing clothes is important because you know you're not on pajamas anymore. It's really important since you don't have a room. So you need the signal to your brain, and then you get your laptop and put it somewhere different, like put it on the dining table, put it somewhere where you are not used to be at your house all the time. So don't get on the sofa. If it's possible, don't be on the living room. Go to the kitchen, like you just go to the kitchen when you are eating. So if you get a notebook on the dining table or the kitchen table, whatever, you know it's a different state from like a weekend where you wake up and you do everything everywhere else. So, and headphone, especially if you live with other people, you need to create a context where you need to be isolated. So put headphone, put loud music if you need to. But even I once bought I forgot the name in English, but the things you put on your ear to cancel all the noise. So
Noise
grab
cancellation.
one of those. Yes. So you can buy some of those on the internet. They are really cheap. And then you put that and you put headphones over that. You know, you just really need to change context. Even if you're okay, you live with other people, you can't use the kitchen, all you have is your room. Try to get a cheap table from the internet and put it in a different place. Do not sit on your bed. Do not sit in front of the TV. Your brain needs to know that from this moment on, where I'm sitting, I am working, because this is also important for you to disconnect.
Yep.
So yeah, your brain will know I'm not there, so I'm not working.
Yeah,
So
Exactly.
you can rest.
one thing, guys, you were talking about Joan. You were saying that Barry is used to work from home, and Diana as well. So from the form, from the survey that we sent before to the attendees, 40 around we have more than 20 response right now, and around 43% state that they're working from home just because of after the COVID-19 outbreak. So that's almost half of our attendees. They are actually working from home just because of the lockdown, right? So yeah.
Actually, one thing I would say to all those people that this is new to them, working from home. You are, first of all, you're working from home in the middle of a global pandemic, and most likely, if you're renting, you're living with other people that are also working from home now. If you are not as productive as you normally are, or you feel out of place or out of whack, don't feel bad about that. That's perfectly natural. You shouldn't feel you should be as productive, or you should instantly get this or anything like that. This has been a complete change, a complete shift for most people. And you should be a little more forgiving of yourself. I found, because a lot of people feel like they're like that sort of that extra stress, that feeling they need to deliver and everything's changed, that can lead to burnout. And as you're saying, Bruno, we need to do what we can to mitigate that. And sometimes self-care is required there.
And guys, one question actually. We were just talking that we have almost half of the attendees working from home because of the outbreak. So it's new for everyone. One challenge that I would propose some discussion is how can we avoid silos? Because in an office, it's already challenging, right? Like you do have different departments, people working with different products, and then somehow you have some silos. How avoid silos in companies that are working now fully remote? How can we make sure that we are maybe interacting with multiple teams? I would like to hear a little bit about your thoughts on that.
Okay, well, that's a tricky one. Well, first of all, if the silos already exist in the company, then you're going to have that problem anyway, because silos are a symptom of communication structures, like basically Conway's law in action. How you communicate is how your system ends up being modeled. So I find in that case, it becomes about making the discussion focused on, say, the business value, the feature, what you're trying to do, as opposed to what this individual team needs to do in isolation. For that, I think it involves the manager / product person realizing they are there as a facilitator rather than organizer. It is not their role to figure out how to tell each team individually what to do. It is getting everyone together and figuring out, okay, how do we all work together? And they're there to figure out when teams aren't communicating or when they're introducing blockers. They're there to facilitate rather than control. Yep, I mean, that's what I've tried. Like, and I try to like myself, because normally I would go into a company and they will have existing sort of social and political structures, so silos will exist. So I try to get somebody that I can talk to in every silo, so I can get their perspective. And usually what I'll do is I will just let them talk, because sometimes a lot of people, they're just happy to talk about what they do and how they work. And they're just happy to have somebody to listen to, somebody that will listen to them and be actively involved. And once you have somebody like that you can talk to, you can start tying things together yourself, so you can figure out who to talk to and how to grease the wheels and make sure that the silo boundaries aren't affecting your work.
Yeah, I agree with that, man. And also I suppose that like, for example, I'm quite new at HubSpot, but even in my previous company, SmartBox, we had some let's say meetings where we were kind of giving demos about the products for everyone in the company. This is something important as well, like show and tells, and in HubSpot, we do have one thing that we call science fairs. So it's basically giving a demo about the products or the cool things that we are working for the whole company. And then again, I do now the link with the documentation, I think, because if you do have a knowledge base, not only from a development perspective, but also from a product perspective, if you build that documentation in a good way, I think it's easier to share that information, right?
And it's also easier when the communication between people is like established. We do Friday beers or wines. Like now we do Zoom wines and it works. Like if you are drinking wines and talking about random stuff, next day you are ready to share what you are working on. I think.
Get people used to talking to each other.
Yeah, communication is always a challenge.
Which I think it's one of the biggest impact we're having now, is we're forced into moving to work from home, and it's not that we can just go out and meet the friends or even go for a Friday beer or Friday wine with your colleagues. You need to be innovative on that and sort it out on Zoom, where some of the conversations and some of the interactions wouldn't happen. So what are the social impacts and the social aspects of this now isolation? It's affecting whoever is used to work from home or who's not used to work from home. We're all now isolated. How to cope with all that?
Well, what I would say is that if you feel lonely when you start working remotely, that's normal. Especially it's a shift in your social expectations. Myself, what I try to do is, well, before all this started, was to arrange meetings with friends, basically go travel, try to go places to see people, get that face-to-face time. Organizing these kind of events like this, these meetups, is another way to keep yourself active and keep yourself seeing people. Now that we have isolation going on, I find it's arranging these kind of Zoom calls with friends. Like I've been doing that on Fridays. I've been playing games online. It's effectively just trying to keep active communication up with people and just feel like, you know, we're connected. And it requires putting in a bit more of an effort because we're so we're separate physically from each other. So it just means you have to be a little more active with the tools you're using. So, you know, like for instance, WhatsApp, Slack, like I have a Slack channel where it's myself and two friends, two very close friends, and we just share links with each other throughout the day and discuss technical problems if we have them. Mostly it's just sharing YouTube videos and tweets, let's be honest here. But that kind of stuff, it really helps you feel like you're not stuck. And it also helps to have somebody else in the house that you can go talk to. Like, for instance, I've got my partner, Ruth, and she's here so that I can go talk to her if, you know, I really need to discuss something.
Yeah, and well, I totally agree with that. I mean, making sure that you were interacting with people and with your teammates, it's really important. And also another thing that as to answer a bit your question, João, one thing that changes a lot when you shift from offline to online, I would say, is you are totally shifting the way that you communicate most of the time, right? So you were mostly writing stuff in web chats or in emails or in tickets, but this itself is already a challenge because I don't know, maybe someone is more comfortable by just talking, and then they have some problems when they are writing. If you work like for a foreign company that works in a different language is an extra challenge, or even just that thing that, I don't know, you were talking with someone in Slack, for example, or in any chat, text-based chat. So maybe they just think that you were saying something with some connotation, and it's in the end it's just for you doesn't represent anything. You were saying in the end you were actually laughing about it. So this communication changes it's quite challenging because discussions, you can have like dramas about something that wouldn't be a drama at all if you were in person and looking in each other's face, you know.
Alex kind of mentioned that earlier, which is tone. I think it's kind of like it's harder to infer tone from a message. And one of the solutions, there were two solutions I think presented earlier to that. One was a liberal use of emojis. To be honest, it helps. It really does help. And the other one is to have these kind of calls. If you feel like there's any contention or like the things are charged or anything like that, it helps to have a call like this so that you can get some face-to-face time, because, you know, what's 70% of communication is nonverbal. Seeing how somebody's face, their body language, how they're reacting, it's a completely different vibe, and you can it's a different communication style, and it depends on the person, you know? I mean, there's no one size fits all solution. I mean, yeah, Alex, yeah, exactly. Alex, you mentioned earlier about some of the issues you had with it.
Yeah, like I find it really hard now because like I'm a QA. This is my job to deliver negative feedback. I just need to do it nicely, and this is it. And like with messengers, it's really hard. Even if you put emojis, like it's really hard. What I try to do in my team is we do Scrum, but any call or any conversation, I try to start with something personal. Say, how are you? Even if the person asks, like says like just fine or I'm okay. If it's Zoom conversation, I don't know. I can ask the person like, what did you have for lunch? Or I don't know, random question. How are your kids? And it gets the conversation going, even if the person is not too happy to see you at the moment. It's like when usually people like to talk about their personal stuff, and it helps to establish communication, like the relationship, and then you start talking about work. But this personal aspect is really important, I believe.
Yeah, because well, you're framing it as that it's not about the work, just about the work you've done. It's about you as well. It's separating the two. You know, you are not your work, kind of thing.
Yeah, I guess it's hard for people to find out that you don't have that like the coffee conversation, like you get up from your table and you go get a coffee and you have a coworker there and you guys talk. That random encounters they do not happen anymore. So as Barry say, you have to be more active about that. I know that sometimes at like Fire, people like just send a Zoom link, like someone up for a 5-minute coffee, and who is available and want to join in, they talk about. But I think it's also important to try to create some meeting is not the right word for that, but some situations for the whole team where you need everyone to be at a call with video open. Like at Blackfire, once a week we have a meeting, a weekly meeting once a week. That's right. So to talk about what we as a team develop during the week, but that's also a time where we can speak about everything we want to say. So I may say, oh, this week I worked on this task, I had that kind of problem. And then the cam is open and a cat from your coworker just jumps in and you say, oh, so you have a cat, and you have these little jokes. So it's something that we do as work, for work, but it can also be a little bit fun, and you get this this way of getting in touch with people in some more informal ways. And sometimes when you need to discuss a difficult question, just like Alex said, maybe it's I can imagine that on Slack, like happy emoji, hi, how are you, I hope you're having a great day, so your code does not work. That's not so good for you to read at once. So it's a good way, like let's chat uh, on with videos. So you have to create that kind of stuff, so so
Yeah.
you don't feel all separated.
Yeah, on that topic, you mentioned there on, well, believing the bad news and everything. There's a question on YouTube here. How to get motivated when you're stuck in something, or when your code is rejected by QA, or even a peer doing a code review, and there's like no actual co-work around you for you to go for rescue or for anything, or sometimes even not even on the time zone we're working on. How to keep motivated when you get some bad news or you're stuck on something, and that help that usually is going to someone's desk there uh, just doesn't exist anymore. And so you lose a bit of this going there. And we all know whenever you go to someone's desk, it's not just about the issue you're having at the moment. You have that, how's your cat doing? But then you get some help on that. So how to keep motivated while you're stuck into something?
Well, I find myself, and I think everyone else would probably hear say the same thing. Reach out to somebody. I mean, if you're stuck and you're not feeling motivated, usually it's because something's blocking you. So just reach out to somebody and say, hey, do you mind taking 5 minutes and letting me rubber duck something with you? I'm stuck, I'm frustrated, need a bit of help. And if they say, yeah, most people will say, yeah, I'll gladly. And you can just hop onto a quick Zoom call and have that conversation and try to do it the same way. It's not 100% the same, but to be honest, I find it can be quite good from blocking you. And if you're feeling really frustrated, walk away from the computer, give yourself a 10-minute break, 15-minute break, whatever you need. Sometimes that frustration and that demotivation is because you're mentally exhausted and you might just need to not be sitting staring at the computer all the time. Go make a coffee, eat a snack. Though actually that, as an aside in the whole snack thing, I was going to say very quickly, if you like to snack, and I like to snack, it helps to have pre-prepared things. So like carrot sticks and things like that, because if you don't, you will eat the stuff you don't want to be snacking on. So,
so you prepare the good snacks.
Yep. Yeah. You should see my fridge. That's after years of experience of eating absolute rubbish. But anyway, it's aside from the main conversation, which is getting motivated.
Yeah, on that, I suppose that when you're blocked, even if it's in a offline basis job, you will also get frustrated, right? In other teams that I have managed, and I worked as a developer as well, it's sometimes you are in that situation that you depend on another team, and it's still async, right? I mean, because they will not be able to do that on this sprint. You need to wait the other sprint. So I suppose that the whole thing about being motivated when you are blocked and then you were alone, it's well, everything it's quite complex, right, as a problem. But in general, I would say that it's a mix. It's a mix of different processes and strategies and tools that you need to put together. You need people to exercise their roles as well, right? I mean, a manager, it's someone that it's also there to motivate the team and make sure that the team so it's motivated, not only performing but motivated and happy. So it's important that the manager keeps an eye on these kind of situations, right? And again, on the blocker side, it's important to remember that in not only on the remote work scenario, you will have similar problems, and then how we overcome that on the offsite scenario. Well, basically, you need to have a backlog with other things and other deliverables to pull and work on. Or if you are stuck, maybe like Barry said, just give a break, go to do something else, take a breath. So the same strategy that you would use in a offsite scenario would be you can also apply, right? And again, communication is the key always. So if you do have someone to as Barry said, to rubber duck, even if it's not someone from your team, even if it's if you live in a shared house, you talk with some flatmate or something. Look, I don't know, I'm having this problem, and then maybe just by talking with someone about the problem, it will help. And this is also something that you do in the office, but you don't even think about it, right? Because you are just, you just move your head and start stating the problem, and then you find a solution. So mimicking these kind of interactions or ways to solve these blockers in the online mode, as you do in the offline mode, I think also helps.
It definitely makes sense to me.
Yeah, I think it's important to admit it and express it if you are upset or blocked or stuck or I don't know, not motivated. You just it's okay to complain, and it's okay to say if you are upset with some person that doesn't, I don't know, that blocks you, or I don't know, you can say it in a nice way, but I think it's okay to say, look, I'm stuck here. Can you help me?
Definitely. yeah,
it's okay, and it's important. I would say it's very important. And again, trying to play this role, I think managers need to foment that. Needs to make sure that the team and every team member is able to express this kind of concerns anytime.
Yeah, and they need to feel like they're safe to do so. They need to feel emotionally safe expressing these things without feeling that it's going to result in their manager going, oh, they're not performing, I might give them the axe. Or like, you don't want people to feel that kind of worry. They want to feel that the management is there to help and facilitate rather than mark your scorecard for your next performance review. You know, you want to feel like there's somebody you can talk to and trust with your problems. And if you're feeling frustrated, you can go to them, and that's fine.
Yeah, that's perfect.
Yeah, even in an async scenario, like I had a problem like that just yesterday, because it was like 6 p.m. here in Brazil, so people from Europe were already sleeping, and I had a problem with my environment. And just after a rebase, everything stopped working. Like my containers went crazy, and I tried to rebuild everything, things still got breaking, and I was like, oh my god, I lost like 2 hours trying to fix everything up. And then I had to stop and think, okay, I will be late on my task because I had to finish that yesterday, but I wasn't able to. So I just left a message on the team channel on Slack. I said, oh, I got this problem, and if everyone can comment on it or give a solution, I'll be back tomorrow by I guess 12 p.m. UTC. That's like 9 a.m. here in Brazil, and I'll be glad to hear it. So I went to sleep and do other stuff. Tomorrow when I got back, I had some comments, some suggestions on how to fixing it. I did fix, and then I had a call with a coworker, and I told him like, I got upset because I know I'm late on the task. I didn't intend to, but I feel really bad because I don't even know what happened. And he just said to me, it's okay, that stuff happened, and like life goes on. So, and I'm still have to finish that task today. So it's not it's not good for yourself if you feel bad for everything, if you feel bad for being stuck. We get stuck sometimes, and sometimes just for the most silly reasons, like you misspelled something and you spent like 3 hours stuck on something that you just misspelled. And if just like Barry said before, sometimes it's okay for you to take a break, and sometimes even finish a workday early because your head is not working anymore. You go do your stuff, and the next day you're back and you fix everything like 15 minutes. So you already made up for the hour lost the other day. So that's normal.
100%. It's about I think people who come from working in an office, they're still stuck in the I'm set from the 9 to 5, which is really the butts in seats mentality. Where realistically with remote, it's more about the value you're delivering. So, you know, as long as you're delivering value, then time isn't as important. No, that's not that's not an excuse to, you know, fart around all day and do nothing, but, you know, everything within reason. But really, I'm just saying, don't beat yourself up so much, you know.
But it's about motivation as well. Sometimes, like, you do your job, but you don't know if you bring value or not. Like, it's not always, you know, clear. Maybe it's also, I don't know, management issue or the product you are developing, or mix of things.
Yeah, I think this is brilliant. This challenge is brilliant. I mean, it's again a challenge that usually you already have in any other kind of scenario, even if it's offline scenario. That is keep everyone motivated, and there are some really good research on that. And I was recently reading something about it. So basically, one of the things that are most important in general for everyone around the globe, regardless of future. Like they did there is this study from the University of Michigan that basically they surveyed people from all the continents, and then it's constant, and it's constant. Well, we have someone new here. So it's constant, this thing basically, that everyone is concerned about the value that they bring for the company, right? So everyone is concerned about that, and this is one of the key motivators, knowing what is the value that you bring for the company. And there is a lot of psychological theories around it, about intrinsic versus extrinsic motivators, and this kind of things. But we always assume that people are just motivated to work if they are receiving a good salary or something like this. But this is also a key motivator, but depends on the nature of the job, depends on the path that person has on his career. But talking only about the salary, right, as a motivator. But this thing about knowing if your job brings value or not is constant for any kind of job, any kind of culture. And to do that, you have a lot of strategies. I would say you need to avoid silos. Yet once more, avoid silos. You need to make sure that everyone is know about everything in the company, not everything, but about the different products or different departments in the company. They have some sort of overall view about the company, and that they are able to localize, find themselves inside of that company or inside of that product, and see specifically what is the kind of contribution that in a day-to-day or in a daily basis, just by coding, just by pushing PHP code to the Git repository, what is the value that person is adding to the overall product of the overall company. This is important. Is a good challenge for managers, and not only for managers, but for companies as well.
There's a lot on sharing and communicating and making everyone aware of what's going on. And that brings a bit on one of the topics we want to cover there, is about the tools we can use to communicate, to keep track of things, to share knowledge and everything. Which kind of tools? Like today we're using Zoom and YouTube to share a bit, but there's not limits just to that. You also mentioned Slack and others. So which kind of tools are most used on the day-to-day to keep the communication flowing and even motivating everyone?
Well, it depends on the tools that people are used to using at the moment. Like obviously Zoom is a big one. You know, we're all here after all. So for face-to-face chats and reliable software, that's good. The alternative then is Google Hangouts. I find that's pretty useful, especially because most companies would have like a Google account of some type. Slack for chat messages. Just some sort of instant messaging platform is also useful. You just need some way to directly contact people, and also to start new groups with multiple people on the fly if needs be. And Slack, I find, is very useful because of its history. You can go back and look at what messages have been shared, and you can also go back and look at conversations you've had among people. I find that's fantastically useful. Anything that works with your flow and how you document things. If you're big into Jira, yeah, Jira is fantastic. As long as you're putting the right information into the tickets. You can use Trello, also good. I mean, it's not really about the tool, it's finding the tool that will facilitate how you want to communicate. Yeah,
that's good. On the survey that we sent, just to give you guys some insights, 45% knows about Zoom or uses Zoom in their companies, in their work. Google Hangouts 60%, around 60%. So everyone is aware or using Google Hangouts. There are some other tools there as well, like Slack, Mattermost, that is similar to Slack. 45% either using or know about Slack. And then there are some tools that like WhatsApp as well. So probably, I don't know, maybe they are using to interact with colleagues. 36% is somehow using frequently WhatsApp to work with as a tool to work.
It's not about really communication, it's about staying focused. There are lots of applications for the phone, because like I keep my phone always next to me. I can't put it in other room, as you know, articles on the internet suggest. It's just impossible. So I have the application. There are lots. It's called Forest or something like this. So you put say blocker. It's kind of a blocker, so you don't go on social media and check Facebook. So it doesn't let you use other applications. And another one it's a Chrome extension. It's called Take a Break or something similar, that reminds you to take a break, to drink water. And it sounds silly, but it helps.
No, like I've used like Pomodoro apps. So, you know, the apps that'll, you know, work for 25 minutes on a task, 5-minute break, 25 minutes, 5-minute break, 25 minutes. And then you take a longer break between like 10 and 20 minutes. I mean, that kind of stuff is great because we don't realize that we're getting tired. We like to, I mean, how many of us have kept getting stuck into a bug at the end of the day going, no, I'll just get this finished. I'll figure this out. When realistically, we should have just stopped, walked away, and then come back 20 minutes later and gone, oh, right. No, I had a spelling mistake there. That's why that I was stuck for the last couple of hours. Okay. But yeah, it's things like that stop us. They stop us from going down rabbit holes, you know?
And that the tools are great. And one thing that Bruno is stressing a lot on the part that the managers take into all this communication and motivating and everything. How is it to communicate with your manager? How to handle it? How is the relationship with the manager when you are not physically going to one-on-ones or talking in the corridors or over a coffee? Now that things seems to not be that personal anymore when you're physically distancing, but shouldn't be distancing too much.
Yeah, that's actually a good one. I mean, well, one-to-ones with every team member, you as a manager is important to do, right? You do need to understand, regardless of the seniority of the team member, it's important to understand and empathize with the team member to understand, look, how everything is going. Are you feeling okay? These kind of questions or this kind of conversation, it's important to have, even if you are in a situation like we are now, that we are fully working remotely, right? So we need to rely a lot on this kind of tools. So basically, being able to do a video conference with a team member and talk with him or her about in a one-to-one basis, it's really important, right? And it's important as well to in my opinion, to do a link with earlier Diana was talking about, that it is like trying to avoid micromanaging, right? I think that Diana and Alex, we were discussing that before, and I suppose that even in an offsite situation, the manager needs to be there as a facilitator. So being all the time around, it's actually not helping. It doesn't help in reality. Going to all the meetings that the team is doing, no, you need actually to foment that the team it's able to figure out the how to work together and build the product or the piece of software that they are working on. Without fully being interacting with the manager, right? So I suppose that the challenge here is just more highlighted. So rather than being there and checking if in a daily basis if someone is performing well, or if someone is with some personal issues, you don't have this kind of capability to do. But you also need to balance with the whole micromanaging situation, and in the end remember that everyone is different, and connect with people in the way that that you feel that they are more comfortable with. Maybe you do have some developers that they are way more comfortable if you send an email to them like, look, how you were feeling. I saw that in the past stand up, you were kind of silent. Usually you were so you talk too much. You were so expensive. It's something happened. Maybe that guy, if you ask that in a one-to-one, he will just shut down. But then if you send an email to him or a message and let him breathe and think about what he will answer, it will work better. So as a manager, I think it's a challenge. It's a challenge to understand every team member and the dynamics, and try to every time reach people how you feel that they would like to be reached, right?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. It's not there's no one size fits all answer to it. It's all about it's about the team and the individuals that comprise that team, not compromise. Bad word. But yeah, definitely agree. It's about like, and you're saying what I was kind of saying earlier, which is that if the manager views their role as facilitation rather than having to be there cracking the whip, people will feel like they have responsibility and that they have ownership of what they're doing, and naturally breeds trust and just leads to a more focused team. Whereas if the manager is involved in every single meeting, that's really saying that I don't trust you to do this without me, and that's not sending a great message. So if you are that kind of manager, maybe remote is a good chance for you to try to take off the training wheels and let people try it themselves and see how things go.
Sorry, I had a quick look in the chat on YouTube, and they are discussing like how the it's a question that I also want to ask. Like, how do you react to some like junior or newcomers like asking too many questions? Because in the remote scenario, it's hard to like, if I have questions and if I have lots of questions, I feel bad slacking the people all the time because they are working as well. When you can pop over to somebody's desks, it's easier. But when like asking questions on Slack, it makes things more challenging. Would you rather prefer a call, or I don't know how to annoy the senior developers less?
Well, I find like messaging tools like Slack are good for where you can send the message and you know that you're most likely going to get the single answer. You know, you know how to be unblocked. But if you know that A, this is going to be a difficult discussion that requires a bunch of people, or C, that after this question you have N questions potentially, depending on the answer, then it seems like a conversation is much more useful. Like for conversations where it can branch rapidly and it can go from topic to topic, and there are lots of potential points to backtrack on, in person or a video call is definitely the best for that. And carving out a piece of time with somebody that can help you. Yeah, it's important not to spam the main channel. If you have a group channel, you can ask questions in there. But if you feel like there's a person with experience, maybe ask, I'm stuck here. Is there anyone I could have a quick call with that could unblock me?
Yeah, and just sorry to jump on that as well, but I mean, as a tech lead or as a manager, it's important to kind of understand the different level of seniority that you have in your team, right? So, for example, for a junior developer, there is this theory that is called situational leadership. So basically, it tries to divide into 4 categories of seniority, right? So at the very beginning, usually, if you are very junior, what leaders or people that are more senior, they need to try to do? They need to try to direct more and delegate more. So for a junior, it's very important that the manager or the tech lead or someone that is more senior in any situation, offline or online, they are being either taught, they are giving, someone is giving them a direction. So if you see a junior asking too many questions, it's because you don't have a senior developer there giving a direction, or the tech lead is not giving enough direction. And then as a manager, what I would try to do is, look, maybe instead of even reaching the junior developer and asking him to do something, I would rather reach a tech lead or a senior guy and say, look, can you talk with that person? Maybe try to help him, do a small call with him. So that's kind of how I would solve that particular challenge, right? And just to go very quickly a little bit more, I would say that, and then the other levels are more like at some point you stopped to direct the developer because he's already a little bit more senior, and then you actually need to until he's actually a very senior developer, you need to build trust and trust more and more on that developer, until at some point, instead of let's say delegating or telling everything that he needs to do, you just let him work more alone, and you know that you can trust that guy, right?
I think an approach like mentoring is always useful. I've been going for something like that in Blackfire because it's a huge code base and it's a different kind of business. There's a lot of how to deal with the internals and stuff like that. So I do have like a mentoring with one of the most senior developers of the team. And what we basically do, especially because we have that async stuff going on, basically as soon as I am online, we have a quick call every morning, like once a day. We talk and we basically discuss about what I have done yesterday, the problems that I had, how I thought I could approach the solution, how I ended up approaching the solution, how that could be better. And we review some code together, and we also, and that's one of the most helpful parts for me, like we get the next tasks that I have to tackle, and we discuss like what I do understand about them, where could I search for it in the code. So we open the code together and we discuss like, oh, this is related to that, and this, we have this class, and this is in the front end. And basically like in half an hour, sometimes 1 hour, we discuss lots of stuff, and it likes accelerate my development a lot. And I also don't feel so bad because we also tried that, like to leave it to me, like ask questions. And I have that problem, like, okay, people are working and I'm asking questions all the time. So this ends this problem for me because I have like an hour full of questions where I can ask anything. And after that, if I still have some trouble, well, you have to be the kind of person that like tries to search the answer anyway. So you read the docs, you go to Google, you go to Stack Overflow, which basically are stuff that we expect that every developer does, not just the most junior ones, but it's a balance.
Definitely agree. It's trying to figure out, like, you know, how much is too much communication, and, you know, how do we figure out how to answer the questions, and how do I get the knowledge I need to move forward? You know, what's the right medium for it? Okay. Sorry, I'm just saying, I've discovered from this that I am god awful at multitasking. So I'm trying to read a chat window while talking at the same time, and I've realized that's an awful idea.
Yeah, for full visibility, everyone. So basically, we're trying to understand if we do need to finish this, or if the conversation is too good that we'll just stay here and everyone will still be watching.
Yeah, well, like, well, to continue the full visibility, I think we were going to discuss the elephant that's the sickly elephant in the room.
Yes.
Which is COVID-19. So, Joe, do you want to?
Yeah. So one of the questions, so we collected from all the feedback on the survey is basically the work remote before and after COVID. So what are the impacts of basically everyone going home to work from home, and when all this is done, how it will be? So kind of, what were your thoughts before that, working from home? What were the thoughts of your company and your managers, and what they're seeing now, how they're perceiving all this change now, and what you think will be the way to go after we get back to some kind of normality?
Yeah, that's a good question. I read an article. I think I have it open here. So basically, there is this InfoQ article, and then if you read the article, I'll send the article to Barry, and then we can add to the meetup description later. But basically, if you follow some links, you will land somewhere that someone already did a forecast. Some researchers already did a forecast, and there is this trend, this estimation that the work from home, the remote work will increase at least 30% after the COVID, even if we go back to the normality. Because and then some of the arguments is, well, first thing is one of the one of the excuses from multiple companies, even companies that were fully able to work from home, was oh, we cannot do this because if we do this for some people only, we are not able to manage that, or I will have legal problems because I don't know if you can work from home. So a lot of, let's say, excuses from companies that would be able to work, they don't exist anymore, right? Because in the end we figure out how to do it. So this will definitely, and I agree with that, this will definitely increase the amount of work from home and opportunities to work from home.
I definitely agree with that. Like one thing I've noticed is over the last 5 years, there's been the adoption of work from home in Ireland, especially, has been accelerating. More and more companies are getting comfortable with it, and companies are realizing that this is absolutely fine. And all that's happening with this is that this is forcing everyone's hand. It's forcing everyone to try it out. Now, naturally, when anything that's forced upon somebody, there's going to be two reactions to it, like the pendulum, which is you'll go one side or the other. I think most companies will embrace it to some degree and do it more and more. There are going to be a handful of companies that are going to have a terrible experience with this, because you don't just suddenly slide into it and it just works. I mean, there is a transition period, and some people, especially if management were wary about it beforehand anyways, they will find reasons to hate it now. It depends, but to be honest, if you're working in that kind of organization anyway, it didn't have a chance anyway. You're probably best working somewhere that doesn't have those qualms. Now, obviously, I'm biased because I prefer working in remote places, so take that with a pinch of salt, I would say. I still think I'm right, though. But no, I do think that after this, we are going to see an upshift in work from home positions and remote positions. And as you said, Bruno, there is research that agrees with this.
Yeah, and if you think, one thing that I was talking with some friends back from college that are actually not working with software development, these big companies, they all have some sort of contingency plan. It's a difficult word to say in English for me, but anyways, the big companies, they usually need to have these plans, or if a zombie apocalypse happens, what we do. And then these companies that are more structured, they do have this contingency plan, and I think this is a good learning, right? Because a lot of companies, they either never pay attention on this kind of concern about, okay, what we do if we don't have electricity, or what we do if we don't have half of our workforce working today. So this kind of contingency plans, that I think we will have a lot of legislation around it. And of course, I'm guessing now. I'm already.
You know, like, at least in Ireland, I believe every person wants to go and have a beer with their colleagues in the pub when it's all over. No, like, as everybody probably a bit worried about our jobs and our future, I guess it's a normal feeling. But yeah, I will disagree with Barry. I believe people will like to work from office again. People would want to work from offices again.
Well, there are, but that's the thing. There are people that are going to want that. They work better in an office.
It's good to have a choice.
Yes, yeah, exactly. You shouldn't be forced. One thing I would like to say as well, like I am an advocate for remote work, but I also like to get FaceTime with people, depending on the company and the client, which is to get to remind them you exist, but also to have that face-to-face interaction. It is just different. So to people that are working remote, and if it is a remote only company, it's important to pencil in get-togethers. I think physical get-togethers. Now, the reason I haven't talked about this earlier is because that is currently impossible or a terrible idea. So you should not do that right now. But once we're in different times, I think it's important to have those face-to-faces. And as you said, Alex, there are some people that just work better in an office with people around them. And it might be the nature of their work where they need to have that constant communication and collaboration.
Yeah,
I just don't think that's me.
Well, and then just doing a parallel discussion, I would say there are a lot of jobs that they cannot be remote at all, right? And today you see a lot of companies that are going bankrupt because they are not essential, and they are also have a job that is there is either impossible to do remotely, or there is no one going to the restaurants. So I think that this whole pandemic scenario, it's definitely something very, very unique and different. So I'm really curious to see what comes next. What is not only from a technology perspective, but what as a society where we are evolving. What is our next movement on this forever going chess history match, and what we will do to be better in the near future, or to avoid these kind of issues.
Oh yeah, because like one thing that we're highlighting the fragility of the current system, both economically, politically, and socially. But that is a discussion I do not think we could have right now. But I am very much looking forward to seeing what happens. As in, I think it'll be very interesting. And I would love to have this discussion with people, but maybe after a few beers and not on a live panel.
Yeah, that's one question on that. We usually, on the PHP Meetup, we usually go for beers and pints afterwards. What do you think that we should do, Barry and Diana and Alex and Joan? What do you guys think that we should do? I don't know. Should we have at least a toast or something?
I think that's a good idea. I mean, I'm already ahead of you.
Yeah, I will have to toast it with coffee, but
that's fine. I was joking. Cool.
No, but like I am thinking like maybe not after this, but maybe after the next one we could arrange just like a Zoom call meeting room afterwards, just to chat, try out the idea.
Yeah, definitely, it's a good idea.
Yeah, definitely. These are uncharted waters, so let's try it out. Because I will be honest, I do miss the post meetup chats.
Yeah, and also we need to, well, from now talking about the meetup organization, we still need to figure out a lot of stuff, right? We had some sponsors. We might need to find a way to get in touch with them and maybe get some help with tooling, because we could do like a Zoom support, like, I don't know, hundreds of attendees. So we usually have around 50, 60 people in the meetup. We could do something like that, but then we need to find a format that will be inclusive enough. So yeah, I think even the meetups, we will need to reinvent ourselves and try to figure out how to do things, right?
Definitely. It's not going to be business as usual. And I look forward to seeing what we can do with this. I think that'll be great.
Yeah, I think everything as communities, as not only online communities or user group communities, but all the community around you, and your work and everything, we all need to reinvent ourselves. And I think we kicked off quite all right, trying this virtual meetup for the first time. Would be great if all the attendees and everyone that watches it in the next days and come back to us with some feedback. So we can improve and include more people and have good conversations going forward. So start to wrap up here, and I'd like to thank everyone and ask for some brief last words if you wish to say goodbye. Barry?
Well, yeah, like, are we going to go through people? So, yeah.
Yeah, I'll be going through them, the order they appear on my Zoom.
Okay, great. Cool, because I was wondering, like, will I just end the meeting?
No.
Yeah, well, all I could say is this was great. Thank you, everyone. A lot of interesting insights and different perspectives that I hadn't thought of myself. Really glad to participate. One thing I would have loved to have discussed further was tooling for collaborative modeling and things like that. But sadly, there isn't enough time in the day, and maybe that's a discussion for a future meetup. Who knows?
Thank you, Barry, once again. Alex, you're next.
I was really happy to participate. Thanks for inviting me. I was mostly asking questions than giving answers, but it was really like I got a lot of insights, and hopefully everybody here as well. So thank you.
Thank you once again, Alex, for your perspective and all for the questions and many of the answers and insights you helped us with. Diana, thank you for your lunch break with us.
Well, thank you for the invite. It's really an important topic nowadays, and it's nice to be able to share and also hear different opinions on that, and also some tips. And thank you all. I hope to see you guys soon. Since the meetups will be online, I'll probably join to watch them. So thank you.
Thank you once again, Diana. And thank you also, Bruno.
Yeah, guys, thank you. Thank you, Alex. Thank you, Diana, for being here. It's a great opportunity to talk with people from different perspectives, right? I hope that that our crowd in PHP Dublin they were able to get some insights, and yeah, I'm really looking forward about what is coming next for PHP Dublin. I don't know, maybe we do need, if anyone has any idea about any kind of format to do anything, would be good to get in touch with Barry, myself, João, and Bruno Souza as well. So yeah, maybe we can have some sort of webinar or workshop or even a talk, and then let's see. Thanks again, guys.
And thank you, everyone. Thank you for all the attendees and everyone that made this happen. And hope to see you soon in a new virtual edition, and hopefully soon enough in a physical one in the nearest pub. Thank you all.
Excellent. Bye bye. Going to stop the stream.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.
Bye.